Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
PLP leader Philip Brave Davis confirms the Prime Minister has yet to respond to his letter.
The CEO of Doctors Hospital speaks out on NHI.
Well, there's a new queen in town for Miss World Bahamas 2017.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive. Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Vaughnie Tude. Topping news tonight, ahead of his first national address as leader of the official opposition, Philip Davis says the Progressive Liberal Party is prepared to do what it has to in order to ensure a so-called political witch hunt comes to an end. Davis, whose request to meet with the Prime Minister was rejected, said he is still hoping the F&M government will address their concerns. Jasmine Brown has more.
The PLP leader says he has not heard back from the Prime Minister, and he says if he doesn't hear from Dr. Minnis soon, the PLP will do what it must.
Be that as it may, as I said, I will wait to hear from them, and I'll see if they don't, we'll just do what we have to do.
In a strongly worded letter sent to Prime Minister Minnis earlier this month, Davis suggested that the Progressive Liberal Party would possibly seek retribution over the arrests of former PLP MPs. In that letter, Davis alleged the arrest of former parliamentarians was an abuse by the Minnis administration and warned that where such abuses occur, the offending parties need to understand there will come a day of reckoning. However, the opposition leader insisted today it wasn't a threat. He said he was just trying to get his point across.
Well, I would hope that they'll be addressed. All we are calling for is a just and fair process. We are concerned from what I know that it clearly is not as just and as transparent as it ought to be.
Well, that message did not sit well with Prime Minister Minnis, who told reporters last Wednesday that he would not meet with Davis. Asked whether Davis called him in relation to that letter, Dr. Minnis said NPO. Davis says he found the Prime Minister's use of the Latin medical term nil per os, which means nothing through the mouth, quite interesting.
It just was very interesting to hear him talk about a supposed warning to attendants, to patients, that they ought not to be getting anything through their mouth, and I didn't know how that fit into what we in the discourse of what I was concerned about.
Davis says though Dr. Minnis recently told the media that he had no plans to meet with him, he still hopes the party's concerns are addressed. As for the PLP's next move,
I think I would just encourage those persons who have been wronged to take the necessary legal actions that they have available to them.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
The opposition leader also weighing in on the Free National Movement's performance since taking office on May 10th. Davis says the administration's performance has been less than stellar, as he claims it's clear the F&M is clueless about governing the country.
They have not been performing, so there's nothing for me to assess. But it's sad to say that they have not. Their efforts seem to have been to talk down the country, talk down the economy, and I don't think they appreciate the consequences of that. And I think most of what they have been said is coming home to roost, and I think it's still a learning curve.
Davis adds that he believes the PLP lost the election because the Bahamian people voted for change and the F&M's track record.
They voted for a change, and they vote for change, hoping that the F&M will do better. And to date, the jury is still out on how well they will do.
Davis and the PLP have been highly critical of the F&M administration, hitting out at its failure to keep campaign promises like repealing VAT on breadbasket items, insurance, and health care. The PLP leader is expected to address a number of national issues during his national address that will air immediately after news right here on RTV. Faced with the threat of another downgrade, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest says he presented International Credit Ratings Agency Moody's Moody's with the Minnis administration's strategic plan for the economy. Turnquist said he is hopeful that recent cutbacks, which are expected to save the country about $200 million this fiscal year, will avoid a credit downgrade. Moody's recently placed the Bahamas' credit rating on review for downgrade. It said the country would avoid one if the Moody's review were to conclude that economic trends and government's policy response support a stabilization of the debt trend. When asked if he thinks the Bahamas will be successful in this area, Turnquist said the ratings agencies have their own method of examining such situations. In other news, Doctors Hospital CEO Charles Seeley has been vocal about the National Health Insurance Scheme since the idea was brought to the public. Seeley has vocalized that NHI will lead to a rise in the cost of health care, but will also increase access to health care services. Well, following concerns surrounding the NHI Secretariat, Seeley said the minister must take into consideration the millions that have already been invested. Here's GIORGIO BAIN.
Adding that he understands that the government will be challenged with financing a proper national health insurance scheme, the CEO of Doctors Hospital says he's confident that despite the program's many setbacks, the country has already invested too much to let it go. Last week, Minister of Health Dr. Dwayne Sands vowed to correct issues with national health insurance amid calls for the scheme to be scrapped and for the government to go back to the drawing board. According to Seeley, the millions invested in consultation fees alone stand to reason why he supports the minister in moving forward.
Listening to the minister, I think he has taken into consideration the significant funds that have been spent on consultancy for NHI. So while the suggestion of scratch is there, I think they're going to take into consideration all that volume of information in making the decision to move ahead. Part of the challenge, as indicated and as known by most Bahamians, is the funding. The funding is an issue. And the opportunity then to look at NHI differently in terms of what constituency of patients are you going to concentrate on in the first iteration is, I think, where they're discussing.
The doctors' union has also expressed concern about NHI, saying the scheme could become the new cotton field and urged the new government to address a number of issues. Seeley says he believes the government is well on its way to ironing out the problems and applauded the newly appointed National Health Insurance Authority.
The beautiful thing that I've seen is in the board, the NHI, the authority that they've recently established. And if you look at the compilation, obviously the minister is taking into consideration all of the different players in the market who may have a vantage point with regards to it or have some need to be involved in the discussion. So they've put some persons together who I believe when they sit at the table, they're going to look at what is going to be in the best interest of all stakeholders.
According to Seeley, Doctors Hospital will be working on introducing a similar primary health care service.
We are looking forward to introduce primary care as another part of the services we provide to the community. So in very short order, that's going to be another addition to the services at Doctors Hospital. So you hear a lot about that as well. And so that's where the NHI comes in on. We hope to, throughout New Providence and, of course, the family violence, seek to put primary care services available to the Bahamian public. And then, of course, that being a first step and the opportunity to provide whatever tertiary needs they need.
Reporting for our news, I'm GIORGIO BAIN.
Miss Long Island, Gina Thompson, is the new Miss World Bahamas. The new queen beat out 8 other contestants to claim her crown last night during the Miss Bahamas pageant held at the Bahamar Convention Center. APRYL Sands has the highlights.
Well, it's been a trying 3-week competition for these 9 girls, but in the span of 3 hours, you'll see that there was only room for one reigning queen.
The new Miss World Bahamas is Miss Long Island, Gina Thompson.
A crowning moment for Miss Long Island, Gina Thompson, who defeated 8 other contestants and emerged as the new Miss World Bahamas last night, following 3 weeks of stiff competition. Following several rounds of competition, 9 girls went down to 5, and 5 whittled away to 3. The girls started the evening sporting swimsuit gear before changing into a striking lineup in the best-dressed evening gown competition. But it was the final question that led to the crowning of Miss World Bahamas 2017.
U.S. President Donald Trump recently announced that all transgender persons will be banned from military service. Do you think this is a good or bad decision, and why?
I believe that that is a bad decision because I believe that transgender people are people as well, and they deserve the equal opportunity to serve their country and the country that they love.
Thompson took home 2 awards before taking home the crown, winning Miss Popularity and Best Evening Gown. The new queen said this time around she felt like she had a lot to prove.
I wanted to show the judges and the entire Bahamas that I was invested into this competition and that I wanted to make an impact not only in this competition but then later at Miss World.
And she proved that investment after entering the pageant last year and barely making it to semifinals. But Thompson said she knew she had to come back this year and prove to herself that she could take the crown.
Last year was a time for me when I got to know who I was during the pageant system, because it does that to you. You get to a lot of time to be introspective and learn about yourself. And after not being successful in my quest for the crown, I took the year out to kind of go into a cocoon and repaint my wings and think about what is it that Gina wants to show the world? What is it that she wants to leave? Which mark is it that she wants to leave in the world? And so I came back this year more dedicated and more confident that I was the one who should be Miss World Bahamas.
And as for the former Queen Ashley Hamilton, she said she'll continue to serve the country through her platform.
I think #Ashley After the Crown is going to be more about introspective, learning how to deal with Ashley, who was a public figure, taking the tools that I've learned and making it more about how I continue to impact the Bahamas in a positive way without the sash and the crown, still remaining true and humble to who I am.
Reporting for our news, I'm April Sands.
Still to come on our news, why a new Doppler radar has yet to be commissioned, plus 57 Haitian migrants apprehended in the exhumas. So stay with us.